Hey guys, my name's Chance. Welcome to my channel. This is the Iron Man review.
Dumb run.
I was thinking, I didn't make a single piece.
Why are you chasing me? Because he doesn't have your ideas.
Okay, so with Infinity War on the rise in like a couple months from now, we decided to at least start talking about the MCU enough. So I think we're going to do phase 1 by the time Infinity War comes out. First, we're starting with Iron Man, released the same year as The Dark Knight. Two very different movies, I would say.
Yeah, one's fun.
If you want to know our opinions on Dark Knight, here is the first video of it. Like, comment, and subscribe. I think Iron Man still holds up pretty well today. I think it's still one of Marvel MCU's best.
There's no better way to start a franchise. Glad they didn't start it with the Hulk.
If you look at the comics, the Iron Man suit is a very goofy looking sumbitch. Whether it's the metal, like, silver armor, or what it's supposed to be in here, like the red and yellow, the face is goofy looking, it's silly. So I'm very impressed of how amazing the design for this suit is. Like, cause this thing is like legit one of the coolest designed superhero costumes ever.
Yeah, and I'm glad they went with more of a crimson kind of color.
Not like bright red.
Right.
For a movie that came out in 2008, the CGI still holds up pretty well. The only time the CGI really looks fake is like when he's like in the machine and it's like putting the suit on him.
Let's face it, this is not the worst thing you've caught me doing.
And like the final fight. It's only the only time it looks fake. I'll say this now, we just saw Black Panther pretty recently. The Iron Man suit in this movie looks better than the suit in Black Panther.
Yes.
By like a lot. I think it's because they use so little CGI for the suit itself. Like obviously like, the whole suit is CGI, but like they don't try to like add too much detail. It does have the advantage, it is metal. It has a shine to it. CGI tends to be really good if you want to get like stuff like glistening and like the T-1000. It naturally will look like that, and that's easy to make it look like that. So like with the more, I guess, like less shiny suits like Black Panther's, it's harder to make it look real because you have to add in the detail.
I don't see it going out of date anytime soon.
Yeah, I would say so. Like it even in 20 years, the CGI is not going to be like, oh my god, like I can't believe this is how movies used to look.
Right. Like yeah, like we can look back on like 1998 Godzilla and like ew, gross.
Yeah, that's no thank you.
But I don't see us in like 2038 looking at this like, oh, gross.
Like this was good back then, except the final fight, which gets a little cartoony. It turns into a bit of like a video game.
It is a bad start to a trend with Marvel movie villain fights.
Yeah, that's also true. Since then, the action scenes in Marvel movies have gone way up.
Yes.
Robert Downey Jr. as Tony Stark.
Perfectly casted.
Just a picture, and you're like, that looks like from the comics.
Yeah.
And then when you actually watch it, you're like, wow, that's amazing. Like, again, perfect casting.
Yeah. Like, I definitely don't want to like Tony Stark. I think he's the biggest asshole in all of comics.
But goddamn.
I really like Robert Downey Jr., so I'm always going to be rooting for Iron Man, except in Civil War.
The character of Tony Stark is one of those that, like, you don't want to like him because he's such an asshole, but it's like, he's so charismatic and charming. As much as you're like, he's such an asshole, but it's like, but I would be that asshole if I could.
Yeah, if I had all of that money.
And, like you're saying, like, this kind of movie kind of started a Marvel trend, like, this kind of show, like, Marvel is about the hero. And this is, like, the best example of a movie about the hero. Because you get everything. you completely understand Tony Stark as a character.
Yeah, you understand why he's so shut off. You understand why he's a womanizer, even though he clearly has a woman right there. To me, his best character moments are in the cave.
You understand his resourcefulness, how quick he is in his head.
Right.
He's not an idiot. He knows they're going to kill him anyway.
Right.
So he's like, fuck it. I'm at least going to die trying to get out of here. Gwyneth Paltrow as Pepper Potts.
Could be anybody.
I'm not a huge Gwyneth Paltrow fan, but I think as the character Pepper Potts, I think Pepper Potts is like one of the few superhero girlfriends that like actually has a fucking personality. Like, she doesn't take Tony's shit, but like she still likes him, but she's not gonna just let him say whatever he wants.
Yeah, like they do have good chemistry.
Mm-hmm.
I don't personally care about Pepper Potts as a character. Even in like the comics, I'm like, she's just there.
Terrence Howard as James Rhodes.
Well, that could at least be another person. So
It literally could be. It literally could be one other person. I think as Rhodes, him again. Everyone in this movie has great chemistry.
Right.
Like, even though you don't see a lot of Rhodey in this movie, just whenever he's with Tony, you get it. They're best friends. Like it's not like fucking Bye Bye Man where it's like,
Hey, he made me look smart, and I made him look ugly.
but
After the crash, he took care of me. Talk shit about my boys, folks, you're done.
he treats Tony a lot like the way Pepper kind of treats Tony, where it's like, I'm not gonna put up with your shit, but like I know who you are, and like I still like you as a person, but
Right.
I'm not someone who's just gonna put up with anything.
Yeah,
you
it comes
say.
off very organic. Yeah, it's a shame that he wanted more money, but
Jeff Bridges as Obadiah Stane. He's one of Marvel's weakest villains, and that is saying a lot. And I would say he's really weak because he's a super obvious villain.
yeah.
And it's like, oh, you're the audience member. Of course he's an obvious villain. But, like, even if, like, in this universe, people be like, he's a horrible person. Like, he probably does bad shit on the side. And he does. He's just kind of an underdeveloped Marvel villain. There's not a lot to say about him. He's like, is he a good opposite to Tony? In theory, yeah. He's a good foil to Tony. He's like, he's the old Stark Industries versus the new, what Tony is now a changed man.
Yeah, he's Tony if Tony had kept up with the whole...
Weapons are first, yeah. Which I think that's what a lot of Marvel villains tend to be. What I like about some of the older Marvel movies before MCU is that they would make the villain would be the contrast of the person's secret identity.
Right.
And their villain part wouldn't necessarily be a copy of their superhero form.
Yeah.
It's just their personalities are the opposite, or like if one thing was different about the hero, they would be that they could possibly be this person.
Mm-hmm.
But like with this movie, kind of started a trend where it's like you make them like they're the opposites in personality, or like there's and then in their villain form, it's just a bigger, meaner version of the superhero.
Yeah.
And like that's, I don't know, it's a little distracting because like this movie you have Ironmonger, fucking Hulk, you have Abomination, Thor, it's Loki, Captain America, Red Skull,
That's different.
Black Panther was just the most recent one. Black Panther has that problem.
It's just a different cat.
It's a different cat.
Yeah.
But again, it's kind of like this, where it's a different cat, it's a different suit, and it's just the same guy, but if their ideologies were turned up to 11 the wrong way.
Yeah.
It's kind of like this. It kind of comes back. So I think the action is pretty entertaining. I think the cave scene is really well done.
Yeah.
I like how you don't really see the suit yet until a little ways through. You see the brilliance of like Tony Stark through that.
Right.
He made this in a fucking cave.
Clearly the best part of the movie, in my opinion. This movie just represents what I would do if I had a freaking robotic suit.
Right.
So I have no problems with anything in here. Like, I would punch things. I would shoot laser beams.
The first suit up is like when the terrorists attack.
Mm.
I love the little tank part where like he gets hit by the tank, he gets up and then he dodges the missile, and then he just shoots a little missile of his own.
Yeah, and walks away.
Yeah.
That's some badass shit.
He drops off the terrorist that was like trying to kill him earlier into the crowd. He's like, "It's all yours."
Yeah.
That was great. And then like right after that, when he's leaving, he gets into like the dogfight with like the 2 fighter jets, and that was pretty cool. I love that like he like grabs the bottom of the plane and he's trying to like just stay under it, and then like at one point they turn and he sees them. The movie, like when it comes to like the action stuff, it's just fun. I would say the action in this movie is fun. The only downside when it comes to the action is the final fight. Yeah, he stops the car, he saves a family and everything. It has some funny moments, obviously, because Marvel. But besides that, I mean, the final fight's just kind of whatever. And it kind of sucks because that's supposed to be the climax of the movie, but it's like, eh.
I guess because, like you said, Jeff Bridges is the most obvious villain ever. So, like, you expect it.
You're just waiting.
Yeah, you're just like, all right, let's get this over with.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so the opening, as much as like I shit on Man of Steel for being out of order, you know what? I don't fucking mind this one. Because I think its opening is strong because it's really only out of order for like the first like 2 minutes. And it gets your attention like, what the fuck is going on? Who's this guy? What is all this? Cut back to like a day and a half later. And then it's the whole setup, and that's where it shows you his personality. Even the first 2 minutes, you totally get his personality.
Anything else? You're kidding me with the hand up, right?
Is it cool if I take a picture with you?
Yes. It's very cool. I don't want to see this on your MySpace page. Please, no gang signs. No, throw it up, I'm kidding. Yeah, peace. I love peace.
Awesome.
And like just how he banters with them, like clearly he's the guy who like he doesn't really take anything too seriously.
Right.
And so with that, once he's out of the cave, he becomes a very serious person, but like he still has that humor with him. Again, kind of going back to the characters, like everyone in this movie just works together. Like it doesn't feel like any of these people are strangers. Everyone feels like they click. There's nothing like, oh, these people just met like yesterday on set. And that's kind of like the Marvel casting, I would say. They just tend to be really good at like casting the right people.
But there were a lot of callbacks throughout the movie
Mm-hmm.
that like Tony remembered about the guy. I really liked all of that. Like he's never been in a situation like that where like he knew he was gonna die, but then this one guy in a cave with him that's going to die also, stuck by him to the very end.
And even that's great quick relationship building right there between those two. Like it feels real. So this movie is 2 hours long, but it never feels like it's 2 hours long. I mean, if it goes by, you never look at your watch when you're watching this movie.
Because you have a good time with it.
And I think that has to do with the pacing. The movie never drags.
Right.
Even like when Tony's building stuff. I love when Tony's building stuff. Like, because it's fascinating. Because, I mean, you could be like, oh, you don't need to like see how like his Iron Man suit is built. But people would kind of like, it's such a weird piece of technology that it's fascinating to watch a person put it together.
Right.
And like you see how his mind works as like he's putting it together and him testing it out and everything. It's fun. Like it's enjoyable.
It's truly a part of his character.
I think what makes Tony such a strong character in the movie itself is the fact the movie rarely leaves him. There's very few times the movie is in a scene that he's not involved in.
Right.
The only time they ever do that is if he's not supposed to know something.
Because
like it's anytime Obadiah like with a terrorist or like all the background stuff. Like if he's not gonna find out something, he's probably not in the scene. We kind of covered this already, but like the two weak parts of the movie, Obadiah as a character, it's just he's obviously the bad guy. The first image you fucking see of him is the magazine cover of him stomping on the world, or not stomping, standing above the world. And the final fight it's not super fun to watch at that point. Not bad. It's just the movie was so energetic before then.
It's the least entertaining part about the movie.
But yeah, like the first 2 acts are great. Like they're, I think for what the movie's just trying to do as a movie, it does as good as any Iron Man movie could get.
Mm-hmm.
And it has one of the best final lines because it just that again, perfect characterization of Tony.
I am Iron Man.
As the last part of like this review, just kind of talk about how this movie shaped everything Marvel is now.
Yeah.
I think that's why they stuck to it because of how successful this was. Because this movie and Hulk are kind of different, but they came out about the same time. And I think because this one was so much more successful than Hulk, they were like, well, clearly this is the version of movies people want, and they did.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, it's a good formula. Formula's a formula, but
without Iron Man, there would be no Avengers,
we wouldn't even gotten
Civil War, Winter Soldier.
not even Captain America or Thor.
Yeah.
Because I think if both Hulk and Iron Man failed, they weren't gonna keep doing it.
Yeah, there would be no MCU. So.
And I'd be very sad, because then Spider-Man would still be stuck with Sony to this day, probably. Because of one fucking movie, post-credit scenes became the bane of all moviegoers. But sometimes they're, like, the best part. They're one of the parts that, like, keep you together.
Sometimes.
Well, yeah.
But I am getting tired of it. That's the one trend that I hope dies.
The post-credit scenes.
Yeah, I know it's not going to. Like,
I don't mind it.
it's going to be everywhere.
But yeah, I think Iron Man still holds up today. It's still easily one of MCU's best movies they've put out. Shane, the sequels don't even get close to that kind of quality.
Not even a lick.
And I kind of have a theory on why. Because as we're going to go through Phase 1, and I watched it, Phase 1, like, fairly recently, like, a couple years ago. And, like, what I noticed is, like, maybe they're not the best phase of Marvel. This was clearly Marvel trying to figure out what it was doing. And it kind of shows, because, like, sequels of, like, all their movies got better, except Iron Man.
Mm-hmm.
All, like, Thor 3 is the best Thor. Captain America 2 or 3, really depends on your preference, is the best Captain America movie. They never did anything with Hulk. Technically, Thor Ragnarok is the best Hulk movie we've ever gotten. But I think Phase 1 was just them trying to find their footing. I think the fact that, like, Iron Man and Avengers were, like, still some of the best MCU movies to date, it's looked back as like, man, Marvel was great back then. It's like, I don't know. I think it was just the bookends were so strong.
It was alright.
Overall, it's fine. What would you give Iron Man? I guess 2, yeah. So, looking forward to watching more MCU movies now that we finally get to talk about
I'm
it.
looking forward to some of them.
Yes. I will say that. Okay. Bye.
Bye!